Hey, this is Gene. I know for the last week I've been talking more and more about Florida State on this channel, but today I'm going to talk about another one of my passions when it comes to sports is Manchester United. It's a strange type of thing because Manchester United is kind of like the SEC, kind of like the New York Yankees. So when fans complain about what's happening to the club, and you have to look at our history. It's not as great as like Madrid when it comes to European competitions or stuff like that, but it's still, we're the most successful British club ever, right there with Liverpool. Liverpool's got a little bit more European trophies than we do. But as far as in the actual first division of soccer in England, we're just a little bit better than them overall when it comes to trophies and shit. But I did want to talk briefly. In about 2 hours, we're going to play Chelsea, a very important game. Not really for the future of the manager, because everything's pushing at us and saying that we're having the worst start ever in a Premiership season. Although we were about the same point totals at this amount of time last year. We had a lot more draws, not as many losses. We haven't lost or haven't drawn a game all year. And that could actually happen today. However, the last 4 managers have been basically taken out by the players. And we're seeing this kind of thing happen again. And this manager finally shut down some of this press outlets from running stories that have no factual basis. Or if they do, they don't have any real second sources, or they don't ask the club or ask Ten Hag. So they got rid of like 4 of them. And Ferguson did this a long time ago because guys were writing shit that wasn't real. And I've said many times on this channel that somewhere in life, now this has kind of been that way, even when I was in England in the 90s, their tabloid was, everybody knew that it was it was bullshit. It was just trauma shit. And I'm not gonna say it started then. I mean, press forever has had to print stuff to get more ads, or now it's clicks, just get attention so they can actually be in business. And it's always been that way. In the old West, they would talk about these different things that they did, and they'd have serials about it, about quote unquote real things, like Billy the Kid or Jesse James. These are real people, but they embellished everything. Kind of like the Holocaust, but I won't talk about that. It's a different fucking thing. Don't cancel me because I said it. So it's not unusual, but it's ratcheted up now because there's so many different media outlets, and you can be independent media. I mean, those of us who watch United Stand, or I don't know that United People's TV has a reporter at the press conferences, but you see Beth ask question there. You see, was it Mark, or not Mark, but the other people there have gone there and actually asked Ten Hag questions. So they're looked at as media. And none of these people have journalist degrees. They're basically drama, reality shows that are portraying media. And the media gets upset with those guys because they're getting more clicks and more money and more attention than they are. And they call the people in their basements who are being these press people, they don't look at them the same. Because some of these people actually they went to universities and they've got these type of degrees. But they still push shit that's not real. I talked about under Mason Greenwood and all this other stuff, they say things that is not really real. And they have no sources that they actually show. And all Ten Hag is saying is like, if you're going to do something like this, just let the team know so we can contextualize it. We can say whether actually it's true or not, or just have no comment, and they didn't do it. So fair play to him, get rid of him. And then there was this nice little debate about whether that's freedom of speech. And I'm like, people in England don't understand what freedom of speech is. You don't have it. If you have a different thought process of whoever running the government at that time, you'll be in jail for it. I said it before, but if you question the veracity of the Holocaust, you'll find yourself in jail. If you do something that you would consider anti-Semitic, that nobody in the world would think that, but just because you did it, or you just somewhat criticize Israel as a state, they're going to come out and show up at your house and saying you're doing things. If you post things online, we can put you under offense for this. There's no such thing of freedom of speech. Clearly not in England. So it's crazy when they say that this is a breach of the freedom of the press or whatever. No, this is a private club that can say who can come in, who cannot come in. And they said you can pretty much say anything you want to do, and we all know they lie. And I'll tell you why. We will hear during transfer times or the sale of the club, how many times we've been told that Sir Jim is going to actually take over the club. It's been going to now for weeks and weeks and weeks, and he still hasn't done it. And it's all these reporters are saying the same thing. And guess what? These are the same reporters that talk about all the transfer issues as well. And they say, this guy's coming, they're going to be here, and then it never ends up. So they just put shit out there just because they have to. It's their job to do it, so they get clicks, and that's how they feed their family, and all that stuff is fine because it's just all just drama shit. And I'm doing it right now because I'm talking about it. And Mark does it on his show, and he talks about it. So it's just an opinion, as everybody has. But it's just when you actually hit the third rail of certain things, you can't say it. So when I talk about sports and sports media and media in general and political stuff, it is all intertwined. It's like they're still kneeling for certain times of the year because they want to combat racism. Racism isn't real unless you make it real. It's not real. Are there individual instances around the world, in the Western world, that it happens? Yeah, but it's not a real fucking thing anymore in the Western world. And we continually amplify shit that's not really there. And nobody really wants to talk about the real problems going in all these communities that we have in the West when it comes to immigration coming in and fundamentally changing the demographics of your country and therefore changing what it actually will be in the future. And then if you talk about that, if you're Ireland saying this Algerian did this stuff, then that's hateful. When you actually talk, the press actually does their job, and then they're called hateful. But anyway, back to Manchester United and Ten Hag. It was kind of a very disgusting display against Newcastle. The only issue that I would have, and I've said it many times with this team, if those players are not available to play at the level that they need to play and give the effort that they need to be played, they need to be out, and you just get somebody from the youth team that you've seen in the youth team that always gives everything, you bring them up and they replace them. Right now, as bad as we've been this year, I think we're 6th or 7th, we're not going to be relegated. Now, of course, we want to win every game. But when you actually look at how Newcastle played against us, everybody running to the ball, always getting the second chances, and we are just sitting back and not doing anything about it. And then I don't really like this whole thing from Ten Hag saying that we were tired. I don't see that. These are elite athletes. They should not be tired. And if you can't go for 90 minutes and play your full 100%, and you can only do 70, fine. We have enough people to come on and replace you. As bad as the injuries have been this year, we can still put a team out there that should get a couple goals and somewhat be defensively sound. There is no excuse when teams that are not at the same level or don't get paid as much as our players to try harder. They should never outwork us if they make the better passes or the better shots or play better on defense, don't have individual errors, and they win. You just do this and say they were the better team that day. But they should never, ever outwork us. It's not like we are a bunch of, the rest of our team is worth about $1 million. Every person that gets out there are all millionaires. They all make over $100,000 a week. Some make even more than that. And then when you compare them to the other teams that we played against and how they actually have effort and they have the work rate, and a lot of these people are still playing in Europe, playing in the cups, and they're having the same 11 people out there. Newcastle had 3 games in 7 days, and they had the same 11 people out there for those 3 games. And they played European competitions at the highest level, should have won, although I think PSG deserved what they got in that game. And they outworked us the entire time. Now you saw that we looked a little bit better when the younger guys came in when they subbed, but that's just when other people actually get a bit tired, and then So when you see Marcus Rashford, and I want to talk about this, okay, before I get to Rashford. Mark Goldbridge got on to Talk Sports. He has a show on there anyway. He said I would never do this, right? You know, I'm independent. I'm going to do this, and now he's become part of the establishment. But anyway, he goes on there and he says there were a lot of players out there that weren't trying, and then he's pressed on that by the other reporters on there, guys that have been around for 50,000 years. Some of the things that they say I don't like. Some are okay. Simon Jordan, sometime I believe with him, but he's passionate in what he believes. And they pressed Mark for actually saying who it is. Now, Hale will talk about it somewhat on his show, but he has either this blind spot when it comes to Rashford or Martial, because he thinks that if you say anything against Martial, you're against the foreigner. And I guess he kind of like equates Rashford to that, even though he's British. You know, the whole thing about the penalties and the Euros and all that stuff, and this shit that he was dealing with racism that wasn't anywhere in the United States or England. It was all in the Middle East that we're dealing with now with Hamas, Israel. So he would not name him. Now, Hallie McCoy told him, he said it was Martial. But Martial's always been the kind of that type of player like Berbatov was, that you didn't know if he was actually trying or not. I think that Martial actually knows how to do the press, but the rest of the midfield behind him don't do it well. And the issue we've always had ever since Ferguson left is our midfield is not balanced and it's not really good. There are good players that can play there, but you have to have that guy that actually is going to be breaking things up. And the good thing about Casemiro, he was good at that, but now he's hurt, and then he gets these red cards, and he's getting older. But we had guys like Fletcher there, and Gene Sung Park, players like that in the midfield, even Neville back then, not Gary, the other one, Phil Neville in midfield. Even Jones played there a couple times. That they would break up stuff. Now, we were so good that we can control the ball so much. It was hard for people to now just go through us. But everybody sees what the problem is. That we get overrun in the midfield, and as good as our defense actually plays, they can't continually hold out all the time. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they can't. As good as Maguire's played and all that, the other issues with that is that Maguire's played well, but the fact that the reason why he shouldn't be playing is because we want to be pushing up the field, and he's not fast enough to recover. Although he's improved his game, and I got to give him fair player for that, but it's actually changed the rest of our game, and we don't have the players in the midfield to do what we need to do. We have a lot of square pegs and round holes when it comes to that, and all the other shit we've had with the players and Sancho and Greenwood and Ronaldo and all that stuff. So when Manchester United is such a huge brand. I mean, so much out there. So anything happens, it's just amplified. So when you see Rashford just after he gets done by their left back or whatever it was, went right past him, and he just stops and just walks back to it. Or he doesn't really track back to do anything. And then they end up scoring somehow from it, and he didn't actually do anything about it. People get upset about because he's getting in the neighborhood of about $500,000 a week to play for Manchester United, and that's just his salary. He has shit from everything else that he has. So this guy's probably making a neighborhood of around $30 or $40 million a year, and all we want them to do is give the same amount of effort that somebody would do in the Premiership that was just fighting for his life. As fans, as supporters, that's what we want. And he's a Manchurian. And he's born there, and he went to the youth team, and he understands this. But some people are petulant, like Fernandez. His is his other way. He thinks that he doesn't have to do it. And then he just sits there. I understand he gets frustrated. We all get frustrated. Many times that Rooney would get frustrated. But you know what we do? He'd go out and kick the other guy. We don't have that type of enforcer anymore. Now, yes, of course, the game has changed. You can't do that anymore. But you certainly can go up to somebody and give them a shoulder bar to let them know you're there. You just can't have a team continually pass the ball around you, and you sit there and you're not proactive, you're reactive, and that's what Ten Hag wants. He wants us to be more progressive going forward, And when we had so many opportunities in all these games to put games away, not so much against Newcastle, but we stole the ball, or we take the ball from our press, and we have opportunities to do stuff, and it's 4-on-3, 3-on-3, and we don't really do well with that. Clearly had that at Galatasaray. We could have 7 or 8 goals. So I have no issue with Ten Hag doing what he did. And all I can say at this point is now the marker has been put down to those players. If you're not going to play for the badge, if you don't like the coach, say whatever, but remember how much you're getting each day, each week to play for Manchester United, and what that actually means for your bottom line, your brand, everything else, and just put in the effort. If you don't want to do that, fine. Come up and tell Ten Hag and say, I want to move. I got to get out of here. I don't like your style of managing. Whatever. Just let me know, and we'll put you on there. But when you're in there and you're wearing the shirt, you have to actually act like you gives a shit. I'm not the one saying it. They're in the stands and they say, play like you mean it. That's what all we want. I really, really believe, especially the loyal Manchester United fans, people in Manchester, that they would have no issue if we bring a lot of guys up from the 18s who have won like 9 or 10 games in a row and bring them up and play it. And then if we end up only winning 10 more games the rest of the year or whatever, we're already at enough to where we don't have to we have to win maybe 5 more games for the rest of the year so we don't get relegated. And yeah, it will hurt us financially, but imagine the experience that these guys will have. And if we go out and just play the type of game that Ten Hag wants to play, we might get beat. Just people forget there was a long time there before we rebuilt ourselves that we were getting beat a lot under Ferguson. Obviously early on, but then when he just came on and we did for everything, and then for about 4 or 5 years, it took us back to where we get back. We had to give this manager that type of leeway. I mean, I think Ferguson there was a couple times he finished around 10th or 11th. And then he finally won. The second season, I think he finished second. And then he went down like 11th or something. We just got to give him the time to do it. And I know it's different. It's a modern thing, and we have to have all this stuff. But we're not going to find anybody else that's going to change these players. So it's either get rid of all these older players, and they just bring up the U team and just deal with what we have to do with that. And like I said, even if we did that, we took the under 19s or 19s and 18s or 23s are basically the Premiership 2 teams, and we bring them up, and we still had certain players that were still giving everything for the shirt, and they were still quality enough, we would not get relegated. We finished somewhere in the top 10. So I think that most fans would be okay with that if they could trust the leadership and Ten Hag and all that stuff. Because I've been saying this. I said this under Ollie. I said this under Jose. I said this under Van Gaal. When they go out there and they don't act like that they want to be fucking out there, and you got guys that are playing FIFA at 3 o'clock in the morning and they're showing up late for training. I don't want that type of thing on in my team. I get it, man. I could see it already. I don't want to go back to college football, but I just found out that we're losing a lot of guys in the transfer portal because we didn't get the playoffs. So if you've seen the other videos, you know I'm a Florida State fan, and this we got screwed. But a lot of guys are going to transfer portal, and I didn't realize that you're making so much money now, even if you're just basically a starter in Division I. They're getting like $1 million a year, and if you're like a quarterback, it's like, so you can't. It's so early now that people are getting so much money, so their value, what they have in their mind, how much worth they really are. So I think about that when I see a 26-year-old man who's been at the club for half his life, and then he just walks around the pitch, and then he sits on the thing and he just pouts. And I'm like, dude, really? So anyway, I think about an hour ago, we got an hour before the game. Is that right? No, we said about 90 minutes. I don't know. I don't think the team's out yet. He said that we're probably going to do the same team, more or less. I think a lot of people think that McTominay shouldn't play. I understand people's criticism for him. And I said it many times on here. Let me get this off my chest. Every time we get a throw in, the fact that we do not come back to the ball just fucking pisses me off. We end up giving the ball back to the opposition almost like 90% of the time. There's ways you can actually pick people off to get somebody open there. It's not that hard. It's like, is there somebody that's ever played basketball that can teach Ten Hag how you can go up there and actually just not barge off, but just get in there and then allows people to come in? Should be a pretty easy way to get Bruno the ball. You know, obviously somebody else that's good with on the ball, if it's Manu or something like that. So you peek off a little bit people, and then he opens them up to him and he gets it to him. But it's just, and we end up giving the ball back and back and back and back and back, and it's stupid because I watch all the other teams do it, and even the lowest ones like Luton and stuff, they have no problem with it. But we've been having this forever. I don't understand what's going on with it. But anyway, I guess they know that's our Achilles heel, and they use it. So it's possible. I think that Manu probably should stay today. I don't think he did anything really good or bad in his last appearance, but he needs more time. So I wouldn't bat if he put Manu and Amrabat in midfield along with Bruno. I think that's okay. I think that we can do that, but this is a big challenge because Chelsea has the players. They could clearly go through our midfield, and they're going to get chances and chances and chances. So all I can hope is this team actually goes to the fucking the wall for Ten Hag. If I see the same type of effort in this game, then you can say that he's lost the team, but you're also, what he's done by doing this and saying what you're saying in the press, that he's lost half the locker room. And now if we go out and you show the same thing, it's all going to be on the players. Ten Hag is saying, no, what? They're doing what they're supposed to do. It's my job as a manager to motivate them and all this stuff. But if you go out there and you don't do it, you don't show the effort. Fans understand what effort is, and they understand why a lot of guys still want McTominay and Fred, and because these guys always had passion and they had effort. They did always have the tactical ability. And you can talk about Scott's game, the fact that he kind of like hides a lot. I get it. That's all fucking true. But I think he's probably going to start him. I don't think I would. So Manu, Amrabat, Bruno. I think in the back, I really want Shaw to be in his preferred position, but he played really good against Newcastle. It's almost like it's a lot easier for him to play that position instead of go up and down as a was a left back, I guess he is a right back. So it's possible we might get Reguilon, Shaw, Maguire, and or Wan-Bissaka. Although Wan-Bissaka, that was the worst I've seen him play in probably 3 years. I don't know what happened with him there. It was just a bit. He's been so consistent for so long, but he didn't play very well, and I don't know why that was. I mean, who knows? You know, you can have a bad game, and I think he did. What do you do with the low? I don't think that the low is better than the guys that we have back there. But anyway, I would like him to be, but he's been here for a while. And then what do you do up front? I mean, Højlund probably has to start. Martial didn't do anything. Anthony, I think, is going to start. And then really what you do? Do you start Garnacho or Rashford, or Rashford is preferred position? What does he do? I would probably sit Rashford. Personally, it was just me. I'd have Palestri, Garnacho, and Højlund up front, and then Bruno behind it, and then have Amrabat behind Bruno to clean up that area between, I don't know, right? Why do you get past the midfield area before you get to the box, the 35-yard box or whatever it is? That area right behind there, that he has to clean that up area. That's where Casemiro is really good at. And then Mano just being right in the midfield and just seeing anything else that comes back. And then our back four. And I hope that Onana probably will start. So I hope we win. I'm going to say 2-1. But If we win, it might just be 1-0, and they have 3,000 shots, and somehow we win. Or it could be a very open game, or they can really throw this out. The issue we want to see tonight is that they actually try and show effort and act like they understand what they're doing, with an actual plan to try to be more progressive and not going back. And that's where you come back to McGuire. As good as he's improved, he still falls back to the Van Gaal type days, and we're just going side to side or backwards. And when you do that, you invite pressure, and that's what happens. And eventually, they score from it. So, let me know in the comments, and we'll see what happens. And you guys have a good day. Bye-bye.